Awesome, that's right. One thing, I'd like you guys to acknowledge Exito Events for getting so many luminaries of this industry under one roof. Let's give a big hand to Exito for that, man. And amplify that for bringing all of you here. All of you. Awesome. Thank you for being here. And let's begin. Can we have the slides, please? Oh, we have the slides. There we are. So, let us say, this is your kid. Could be a nephew, a niece, just somebody that you've seen growing up from the time that they drew their first little house and the clouds, and maybe scrawled, I love Mama, Papa. And then they made a little flower. Ah, my baby, she's an artist. Remember that time? Treasured moments. Why? Why do you remember? Maybe you wouldn't even spend $5 at a store to pick up an artwork like that. So what's the difference? Friends, we are all at 3 levels of the body, the mind, and the spirit. The body we understand very well. We do our events physically. The mind we understand a bit, we're familiar. The moods, happy, celebration. But the spirit is subtle. To borrow a word from Aarti yesterday, surreal. This spirit that resides inside this kid is what travels through her hand and comes onto that paper. And that is why you treasure it. That is why it's so close to your heart. Marriages are a union of spirit. And you guys are laying the foundation at the wedding. Very soon, your kid is going to get married too. And we're going to come back to that in a moment. But think, did that spark an emotion? An emotion is an energy in motion. And that's what spirit is. As planners, we are now that you think about it, yes, I understand energy. The drums. Get the DJ, let's drum. You get the energy up. But these are the outer manifestations of energy. What we're going to talk about today are the inner manifestations. So, let's get started. My name is Sandeep Nath, and I know about this stuff about inner power and energy because I went to the Himalayas, stayed in Tibetan monasteries, and learned about that. And that was, before that, like you, I was running an event management company and a brand consultancy in Hyderabad by the name of Jalva. And somewhere while running that, I got a feeling that we could do more. I was in search of possibilities. In fact, to be completely honest with you, I thought we were creating more problems for the world than we're solving. And that took me to study from Vedic gurus, Taoist masters, Zen monks, and Tibetan lamas. And I brought back that ancient Oriental wisdom in the form of something I do now as introduced, the RENEWALism movement, which is about bringing ancient Oriental wisdom to align our body, mind, and spirit at a higher level of consciousness, which can then create sustainability. And you might wonder, what is sustainability? We have a very straight-jacketed thought about that. So I'd urge you to do this now if you want to. Open Bing and type the word sustainable. Because Bing gives you some synonyms. And you will find words like trustworthy, reliable, dependable. Are those the words that you as a wedding planner would like your organizations to be associated with? Yes? Trustworthy, dependable, reliable. Yes? I'd like you to view this session in the lens of that. Because when you create your weddings, you want to amplify the spirit of trust, dependability, and reliability, and that's what makes for sustainability. Now, this is a picture that I got off the web. A very nice picture. I kind of like it because it's got a lot of cues of what makes a sustainable wedding. And I'd like you to work with me because, there are things here which can be sustainable and profitable. They can create business win-wins for you, for your client, for the bride and the groom. So work with me and take out your notepads and write down those 1, 2, 3 things that hit you first as things that you would consider sustainable. Yeah? Please start writing. And on my part, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give you 15 ideas. And after that, I'm going to give you 3 things to think about. So that's a lot coming up. Brace yourselves, fasten your seatbelts, and let's go. The first thing I see here is that it's a daytime wedding. Now, what does that mean? It means that a lot of the pollution that is caused by the power plants, a lot of the electricity that we use up in nighttime weddings is reduced. Technically, we say that that's carbon emissions reduced. We also reduce the use of our diesel sets, right? The DG sets. And what I love about it is that the grandeur of all those arrangements that you put together are seen in their full glory in natural light. Isn't it? And there's one more thing, and that's what's great for you and your teams and for your clients as well. Now you might wonder, good for my teams? What could that be? And that is that a daytime wedding means that you guys and your clients rise with the sun, do what they have to do, and set with the sun. You have a good night's sleep. And that's ancient Oriental wisdom for you to work with the biorhythm, which Harvard now corroborates with, and says that that's the way to have less stress, greater health, happiness, and harmony. Let's do that. You can recommend that. You can also recommend to do something that you see here, that it's kind of outstation. It's in the green, it's in nature. As you saw in the previous slide, I love nature because there's so much of energy, natural energy, abundance, which you can pass through and get everybody in higher spirits. But when you take them a little far away, not too far away, you do another very important thing. And I remember when I was a teenager, there was this elder cousin of mine who was getting married in Allahabad. And from Delhi to Allahabad, some 50 of us packed ourselves into a railway compartment and we went overnight having such fun. The whole gym bang, staying together, laughing, cracking jokes. We didn't sleep the whole night. And I can tell you this. Over the last 40 odd years, the 50 of us may have attended 2,000 weddings, but none of them has created as much of a sustainable memory as that one. That's what your clients would experience. Those lifetime memories, because people are together, there's no air flights and all that carbon pollution. People are not running in and out of colonies and getting into a venue and finding parking and none of the craziness. That's stuff that you can talk about. And I'm sure many of you already talk about. But another thing you can talk about is, if you see the mandap, the place where the ceremony is performed, it appears like it's in wood and jute, natural materials. And probably locally sourced. And not only those, even the food could be locally sourced, and with some good chefs, it could be a memory. Wow, that kind of cauliflower I ate only there. Only they could make it. The taste of these vegetables are different. And very recently, Yami Gautam and Aditya have shown us how a very simple wedding can be conducted, and a local wedding planner has shot to fame. You get the blessings of the local community because you involve them in their ecosystems. How good is that? You will also see that they're using natural, they're using fabrics under that natural mandap. And fabrics are something that are your assets. You can use them as creatively as you want. Every time that you plan for a wedding, you give the client a budget. And while they keep paying for it every time, you have invested just once. Makes a lot of business sense. Likewise with the property. You see on the left, it's got a stainless steel plate, but I would recommend that you have these plates, no disposables. Look at the Marriott, for instance. Those beautiful swirls in the crockery. I feel like robbing it, yeah. And probably people will rob yours as well. But that makes good business sense because they'll always remember you and always call you back. I'm sure many of you are doing these things, but think about it. You're advising them on their dressing. And the kind of dresses that this couple is using, every time there's a festival or an important occasion, they can come back into these dresses. They're very unique, but very simple and elegant as well. And what happens then is that all the magical moments of their own wedding are relived once or twice a year. Otherwise what happens is, the wedding gown goes into the loft and the marriage goes into the icebox. You want it to live, sustain, like that artwork. Always treasured for years. Yes or no? Thank you. Say it like you mean it. Awesome, thank you. Now, flowers. Again, you can involve the community. They can be crushed, they can form incense, they can make perfumes. It's not just something that you cut and throw away. The way you conceive it, even these malas, they can be in the water for a while and the fragrance will last for days. And the great-grandmother, the grandmother, the mother, and now this to-be mom, what are they sharing? They're sharing that energy, that spirit, which is so precious, carried around in the jewelry. How many of these did you get? Anybody got more than 2? Please raise your hands. Lovely, lovely, I love that. Awesome. Terrific. There are certain things that I saw here which are not in the picture, but for a wedding planner who's planning sustainability and profitability, they would be good ideas. Like for instance, segregating waste. You've got the plastic separate to be compacted, you've got the organics to be composted, and you've got the inorganics, you've got multiple stations like that, so that the hill station where you're doing this, you leave it cleaner than it was when you found it. Again, the community will thank you for it, they'll bless you. Digital invitations. There was a little bit of talk on technology yesterday. We can talk more. But the important thing is that you have so many mediums now, video, audio, repurposing stuff, that using that is great innovative value that you would bring. I do understand that there would be elderly relatives who need to be met and given that physical card, but the print numbers are much lower. And you can make it with something like seed paper, for instance. And write on the card that after the wedding, you please put this in a pot and it will grow. And with it will grow the spirit of that marriage. Another asset that you could have is these filters, which are clean, the water looks hygienic, and they're always yours for every wedding. Your clients are happy, and you cut down plastic. There's 20 kilograms of plastic that is disposed, trashed in an average wedding. You've got to look at every touch point of that and reduce it. Confetti is another touch point. Now, instead of littering the floor with that paper and plastic, how about punching leaves in nice, interesting shapes, mixing them with petals, and you have this beautiful biodegradable confetti lying on the floor. Or if you have to give gifts, swags, whatever, make them plants and let the spirit live on. So friends, you're most welcome to take a photograph of this. I see some of you already doing that. But would any of you like to know how you can increase the number of things on this list and maybe modify them? Anybody like to know that? Yeses? Right? Guys, I shy a lot, but I heard a lot of them. So I'm going to tell you something which I'm going to request the organizer for an extra minute or two, because I hadn't planned on doing this. But it is by asking a question, a very important question. And you may want to write it down, because it's long, it's all of 3 alphabets. W-H-Y. Why? Don't be afraid of asking this question like Gideon yesterday. There was this bride who wanted this very specific flower, imported with all that carbon emission in the airfare and everything. And he had the courage to ask, why do you want this? And the bride said, as a kid, I'm connected with that emotion, that energy in motion, with that flower. And so what did he do? He got a paper artist to make flowers, those exact same replicas. And wasn't that so cool? Because now, those lovely flowers that the bride absolutely cherishes can be in her house for as long as she likes. Why? Yesterday, Shika asked me, my clients want balloons. And I'd ask you guys the same thing. Why? Is it a birthday party of 5-year-old that you want to burst them, pak, 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 and have fun? And if it's a wedding, what if you wrap fabrics around fruits, different sizes? Or, make an arrangement with balls which are lighter and then donate those balls to the local school? Or replace it with kites. You want colorful, right? The why, the answer to the why is you want something colorful, something vibrant. Put kites. Put lanterns. Like the Chinese lanterns made out of fabric with nice tails and lights out there. Use umbrellas. And umbrellas again would be your assets for a rainy day. So, when you ask that, you can improvise. Now, let's move to the person getting married. The kid is back. And speaking of people getting married, do you remember your own marriage? Do you remember any songs from around that time? Any song that touched your heart? Anybody would like to sing a song for me? Yes. Okay, one song that touched me from those days, I remember back in my teenage years. This song, hello, is it me you're looking for? I can see from the expression that I must stop singing. But that was Lionel Richie. And he kept me a virgin for a very long time because nobody was looking for me. But what you got to understand is that this decade, the ones who are turning 20 are the ones who don't relate with that song or with any of those songs that you guys got in your minds but couldn't bring to your tongues. Their parents might, but they have been brought up in a different culture, a culture of technology, a digital culture. And that's why your idea of having those digital invitations and using the web for gift registries and so many other ideas to use technology for, they will lap it up. They will lap up every innovation that you suggest. Because that's how they are. Yesterday there was a beautiful talk about the millennials, and Ranbir and Alia is on the cusp of a millennial and a Gen Z. And if she had a balcony wedding, you can be sure that we are looking at a lot of breakthrough innovation coming up. And you have the responsibility to deliver on that. You've got to understand that each one of them is crying within with a voice that needs expression. And you can be the friend of theirs that will give that expression. The parents probably don't. That's where you score. And when you score, they take you places. They're so socially connected. They're also so financially aware. They're probably the second and third weddings that they have. They probably definitely pay for it themselves. They probably pay for their part of their wedding right now. They probably crowdsource funds for their wedding. Many of them are teenage entrepreneurs. The ones who are going to get married this decade have seen the struggle of the 2008 recession that their parents went through. Make friends with them. Do not thrust labels upon them. What connects you with them is their values. And you know the good news? Sustainability is a value. So you're in the right place at the right time with the right thoughts, poised to make the most with this decade. Think about how you're going to do it most effectively. That's going to put cash on your table. And speaking of that, how many of you have heard of carbon credits? We're talking about sustainability. Few hands, thank you. I'm going to introduce another word here, wedding credits. Now, what's a carbon credit? A carbon credit is something that when there is wastage, not just at a wedding has enormous waste, but any wastage, like for instance the power plant, the 1 ton of carbon dioxide emitted is equal to 1 carbon credit. So an average wedding is generating 62 carbon credits. And depending on the source of generation and the way that the money of the credit is reutilized in planting trees or whatever, the price of a credit can change. But if we take a mean price of $30 US, an average wedding is $2,000. Now, you do about 100 weddings a year, you do the math. And I'm going to come back to this because this is not the only waste that's happening. There is so much food waste. This is colossal. A whole family does not waste that much food in a year as a wedding does in a day. Tying up with NGOs, tying up with that same local community that's blessing you is a great way to reach that extra food to the deserving. But there's good news, and the good news is that this generation we're just talking about, in the last year itself, is looking at alternatives. Lab-grown diamonds. You know, that's why your idea of family heirlooms is going to fly. And that applies to the millennials as well. You remember Kareena Kapoor in 3 Idiots and her watch? There is a sentiment there, an emotion. And you're going to remind them of that. They'll stay with you. Again, these 4 specific words, biodegradable confetti for weddings, increased by more than 200% just in the last year. And then there are these organizations coming back to credits, like TerraPass, to whom you can give that $2,000. Many times it becomes a wedding gift as well. And they utilize it for tree plantation or whatever, and you have a carbon neutral wedding. But I'd like to take you a step further than that. And I can just propose this. It's for you guys to do this through an association. Maybe you could start small at the Karnataka level, it came up. Maybe you could look at international organizations like GMIC, which is the Green Meeting Industry Council, which does stuff on accreditation and stuff like that. And what I'm proposing is that make this a win-win-win, not just for you guys and your clients and the community, but for the government as well. Government? You see, the big fat Indian wedding has a budget. And if that is over a certain number, let's say, then there is a surcharge which is going to go to maybe the Ministry of Environment and Forests. And to bring that surcharge down to zero, your client can implement those what? Those sustainable environmental practices. And you are the one recommending them. So your client's happy, the government's happy, you're happy because you're consulting on something that's going to give Mother Earth reason to smile. And while we can do all that, there's another thing, a third thing for you to think of that's coming up. And that, for better or for worse, is the metaverse. You know, I remember, now that I've already dated myself with the Hello song, when I started my career in advertising, I used to pay money for slides like this. And they used to be in films, in cardboard casing or in plastic casing, and a different price for each. And then we put them in a carousel. And if we made a film, then we'd buy lightning bolts, stop, crack, or birds chirping, chee 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 chee. Pay money for all that. Whatever earned you money in the past, which is your present, will be free in the future. Armani is already planning how to dress up the avatars. What are you advising the Sabyasachi's and Seemas of Vrindavan's? In the virtual metaverse, there will be 10,000 weddings in the same split second under the Eiffel Tower. How are you planning to take your share? The metaverse is waiting. $100 billion industry in the US and India alone is going to be moving up there. How are you planning for it? You guys are the future of weddings. You are here setting the trends. The EWPC, the 10th edition, is a landmark in getting you guys to think differently. Think differently about sustaining the memories, about the business, environmental and ecological sustainability, about the social sustainability, who are you bonding with and how, about the economic sustainability, which might require you to come together, and about the future sustainability. My name is Sandeep Nath, and you can take a photograph of this as well. This is my digital visiting card. It's saved into your phone, and then you could import it into your contacts, write me a note. Or if that's too complicated, just go over to sandeepnath.com or sandeepnath.com/hello and say, it is you we're looking for. Happy to work with you guys. Thank you so much. You've been wonderful.